We're gonna try to limit comments or questions to 3 minutes. So we've got a big crowd here tonight, so we'll try to get that done. I mean, I'm not gonna shut you right off at 3 minutes, but if you, keep dragging on, I will. Thank you. Also, our guests up here and our staff, you also will have to state your name and, department or where you're from, so we can get that recorded, because all the people are gonna see is your voices, or hear is your voices. So with that, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Have roll call?
Councilmember Colbert.
Here.
Councilmember Scriven.
Here.
Councilmember Reed. Here. Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Mayor Truman.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory. Here. Councilmember Daniels.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Sam.
Present. Okay. Sandra, are you gonna? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. There we go, I'm on. My name is Cindra Castens. I'm the city administrator for the city of LA Center. I'm very excited to be here tonight, mostly because I'm so happy to see so many faces in the room. As staff, we certainly look forward to the opportunity to communicate with the public and to disseminate factual information. And so thank you for taking your time to come out here tonight. I'm very excited to have you. Our intention tonight is simply to bring as much information to the table as we possibly can for any options available, so that the public and the council have the opportunity and the factual tools necessary to make good decisions for the future of fire services in Valley Center. One thing I do want to assure the community is that the city's primary focus is ensuring our community faces no gap in fire protection. That has truly been our initiative in the last several months. I know that's the initiative of all fire services in the room. And so we've been working very hard to do that. Tonight, what you're seeing in front of you is going to be a large amount of time and effort that's gone into really analyzing these various options to make sure that we've been thorough to provide any opportunity that we can, because I think we all know that some of these results are going to show a pretty big impact on the taxpayer, and so we've tried to be as thorough as possible. So I hope you will bear with me. Some of this information might be boring. I beg you to have grace with me. I'd rather give you too much information and let you have what you want, and you can discard what you don't, but at least then you've had all the facts possible. So with that, and forgive me, we are a little bit technology challenged, so I'm going to move around a lot here. I hope you all have a handout, because we did not have an overhead tonight. So again, if you'll have grace with us, I'm going to start at slide deck number 3 in your handout. I'm basically just trying to let you know that these were our 2 priority goals as we were moving through the last few months. Number 1, safety to firefighters and to the citizens. You will see as we unfold tonight, that is a top priority for everyone. And then number 2, how do we achieve those safety measures with as little impact as possible to the taxpayer? So the financial impact was right on the heels in our priority of order. As we start tonight, I want to start with a baseline text. This is the presentation that was given at a council meeting recently. Some of the numbers have been slightly updated because another month has passed. So if you've heard it before, again, please have grace. I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to hear this. So we're going to start with some baseline context tonight. Number 1 on slide deck 4 is NFPA 1710. This is a safety standard. You're going to hear a lot about it. What that basically, that standard recommends is that there should be, it's the honor here. So basically what that standard recommends is that we should have 10 firefighters arrive on scene within 10 minutes for structural fires. Now, that number varies a bit, okay? And it is a recommended standard, not a required standard. Again, I'm just gonna give very, very neutral factual information tonight. This is also an approximation number, because that number does vary a little bit based upon whether it's a career or volunteer fire department, whether it's combination, the number and type of FTEs. So bear with us a little bit. 10 and 10 is a number that has been landed on for where we believe is the most appropriate according to that standard for our department. On the next slide deck, I just want to be clear about that standard. I don't intend to tonight, at least for my presentation, get into any kind of modeling about whether the standard has been met, when it has been met. I think it would be a safe statement to say that in the state of Kansas, there have been times when Valley Center hasn't met it, there have been times when Sedgwick County hasn't met it, any fire department across the state. However, even though those frequencies are very few among career fire departments, Valley Center joins in the effort and agrees that safety is paramount. And it is still an important topic and one that we need to strive for. So we'll move on to the baseline context on slide deck 6. Kind of what started the process is that there were some original agreements that were terminated recently. There are automatic aid agreements and mutual aid agreements. On May 6th and May 20th, the City of Valley Center did receive notification that those agreements would be terminated on August 4th and August 18th respectively. And the terminations, the reason for termination cited safety concerns and the belief that continued operations under the present agreements did not meet the goals of optimum efficient fire protection. So I want to talk a little bit about what those agreements mean. What do those titles mean? So the difference between automatic aid and mutual aid, because sometimes we'll even mix up those words when we're talking, but they are very important and they are different. So an automatic aid agreement basically means that when there is an alarm or when there is a call, dispatch will send all the needed units at that particular moment in time on an automatic aid agreement. So when there is a structure fire, the number of units that are needed and the number that are available, and dispatch would know where and when and what geographical location they need to dispatch from, they're going to send them at that moment. Under mutual aid, the primary jurisdiction will be dispatched, must arrive on scene and assess the situation and then call back for additional aid if necessary. At that time, dispatch would then send additional units. So as you can imagine, there is a time delay and response difference depending on the type of aid agreement that you have. Now let's talk on the next slide a little bit. We're about to finish our baseline context before we get moving into this. And that is the difference on fire services, because so many times the conversation is so centered around structural fires, which are critical and very important, but they are not the only portion of fire services that our fire departments and Sedgwick County Fire Department are working with. So again, I take a moment just to read through those really quick. Fire responders on medical calls, rescue and specialty services, mutual aid and disaster response, severe weather, hazardous materials, code enforcement, arson investigation, public education. This is more than just structural fires, but you're going to hear a lot of topic about the structural fires. So I just wanted to have a clarification on that. So let's move into some of the actual options that were presented. Am I just cutting it? Should I just stop using it? Okay, we'll keep going with this. All right, what we're going to move into now is 5 identified options that the fire committee and the city council have been reviewing over the last several months. I'm going to recap them for you. Option number 1, maintain current fire services the way that they are. I will tell you right now, in case you don't know, Valley Center staffs 6 full-time firefighters, 13 to 15 part-time firefighters, and 0 volunteers. You can read on the sheet there what Valley Center is trained to perform. However, this option, though we left it in here, it's not necessarily a viable option moving forward. With the automatic mutual aid agreements having been terminated, this leaves the Valley Center Fire Department without that secondary support when those become effective. Therefore, that would not, option number 1, staying the way that we are under the current fiscal structure and the current staffing support that we have, wouldn't be a safe option for firefighters or for citizens. I left the option in here because we're going to use that as some baseline data for our financial review. So when I'm talking about baseline data for financials, it's going to be referencing what does the current fire services cost us. So just as an FYI. Option number 1, not viable. Option number 2, establish more establish more local volunteer and recruitment. There was a discussion about launching a targeted public and corporate outreach initiative in Valley Center to cultivate a trained, dedicated local volunteer force. While Valley Center's shift toward a paid firefighter model mirrors modern safety solutions. The robust volunteer pool, it does provide substantial taxpayer support. Again, this is a transparent place. You're always going to find me talking very openly and transparent about city business. So, you know, one employee, it does cost a lot. The City of Valley Center is self-funded insurance. We have Capers retirement. So when you're talking about the cost of one employee, it's not just an hourly wage. One employee can cost you anywhere between $80,000 and $100,000. And so if you're talking about having only paid staff employees versus volunteer pools, you can see that there's a significant savings to the taxpayer. We've had lots of discussions about why volunteer pools do not seem to be thriving as much anymore in the area. I can't answer that for you. We can't give a definitive answer on that. But we certainly believe that partnerships with local employers, which would include incentivizing the ability for employees to leave during the day to go to a fire if they needed to and stay on the payroll, as well as partnerships with Valley Center High School through their CTE program to foster that passion and that desire and that training for future firefighters. We still believe that's important, regardless of the direction that the council and the community decides to go with fire, because fire services is needed no matter what in the future, and we still think that this is something that should be pursued. However, because of the timeline that we are working under, this would not be a viable option right now, because you would have to recruit that, initiate a program, start training. It's going to take time. We do think it should still be pursued, but it would not be a solution today. Moving on to option 3. Pursue alternative regional aid agreements. Option 3 basically centers upon evaluating alternative automatic and mutual aid partnerships with neighboring municipal and regional fire services. There is obviously a geographic issue in play with that could impact response times. So even though some of those agreements could be evaluated, when we're looking at trying to meet the 10 and 10, or trying to make sure that we're prioritizing firefighter safety and citizen safety, it does appear that those geographical distances make this not necessarily an option of focus today either. So let's look at option 4. Retaining municipal fire services in Valley Center. In order to do that, and to meet the standards of safety that are in play and being discussed today, Valley Center would have to basically scale up their current operations, which would include an upgrade in the facilities and increased staffing support in order to meet those compliance standards. I know that there will be some discussion at some point, because one of the topics that center on this particular option is whether or not if Valley Center should scale up and bolster their operations, whether or not Sedgwick County would entertain an automatic aid agreement in the future if we did that. Sorry. I'm gonna just keep talking. So that is a discussion that would still need to be had for this to be a viable option. But I'm gonna proceed on. I know that I'll let Sedgwick County respond on that one later. But let's just talk about this option for a little bit. I'm going to get into the finances of that, and when we do, we're going to do a comparative. So option 5, of course, is to integrate into Sedgwick County Fire District 1. A cost comparison has been provided on that. As we move into this cost analysis, I'm going to start with a baseline for you, which is what fire services cost today. And then we're going to basically analyze options 4 and 5, because we've already determined that options 1 through 3 are not viable. One thing that I want to note, just for those who care about details and finances, is that the following data, what we're going to start with, is going to use the 2025 assessed valuations, estimated assessed valuations. And that's the data that would be used for the 2026 budget. Because again, we started these proceedings a couple months ago. That's the data we had at that time. We now have 2027 data. So as we move through this document, we are going to switch. But because we had already released public information, and I know Sedgwick County had done the same, we've all been working on the same model, I wanted to at least show those representative numbers for those of you that have been tracking it, so you don't just get lost immediately, because we're going to switch. So as we move into this cost analysis, first set of numbers are the 2025 valuations, 2026 budget numbers, and let's move in. As soon as I can flip pages. So what you're looking there on slide deck number 15, that's the current baseline cost data for existing fire services under the existing staffing that we have. Current estimated valuation for Valley Center is 87 million, with the value of 1 mil being about 87,000. Total mills for Valley Center, you can see there, 53.656. Total dollars generated, you guys are gonna find that I will always talk in dollars and mils, always. Because I'm kind of a believer that a mill is a very misrepresented number. And so I will always talk in dollars and mils, follow both, stick to the dollar. So under that, what you can see there basically is it levies about $4.7 million in taxes. Of the fire department, 10.52 of those mills are just to operate the fire department, which equals about $923,000 right now. So right now, it costs about $923,000 to operate the current fire department. Again, under the model, we can't keep, but that's what we're paying for today. And this is what it would cost you as a property owner. Off to the side there, you can see you have a $250,000 residential property. Today, you're paying about $302 a year. If you have a $300,000 commercial property, you're paying about $789 current. Now, what thanks?
Jim, hand me that. Hand me that one. I'll see if it needs fresh batter.
Sure thing. Okay. How's that? Is that better?
That's a little bit closer.
Closer?
Yeah.
How are we now?
Better.
That's good.
Woohoo! Okay. Okay, $923,000 a year, $302 a year for the $250,000 residential property, $789 for the $300,000 commercial. Now we're going to bolster. We're going to scale up the fire department to review option 4. Valley Center would have to transition to a 24/7 department. We'll have to add at least 4 full-time employees and additional part-time employees, enough necessary to include at least 1 per shift. We'll have to remodel the existing fire station because if you're going to run 24-hour shifts, we've got to have facilities in there that we don't have currently today. And obviously, with the part-timers we're bringing in and the full-timers, we're going to have to buy additional gear. So you'll move on to number 17. I'll walk you through this a little bit here. The top part of this chart indicates where we are today. Today is the 9th, if you'll focus on the 2026 column. Today is at the 922,000 at 10.52. The next column moving down, staying in the 2026 area, that's what it would take if we just put in the base numbers to bolster. So you've got the 4 full-time firefighters in there, some of the additional charges that we're gonna need, what that's gonna do to some of our capers and so forth. That would be in 2026 and it would bring it up to 16.74. We have a 2027 number on here because we know that on our particular finances, we do have a fire truck existing on there right now. And under that amortization schedule, there's going to be a larger payment coming on in 2027. We knew we needed to at least accommodate for that. That's why you're seeing a difference there, is that we ourselves even internally needed to know where are we going to land when that larger chunk of payment comes on. That's why you see the 2027 bringing it up to 17.28. What I want to be clear about is that this is what it would look like for kind of annual operating numbers. Those numbers on the day we prepared this did not have everything in it. It didn't have hospital claims for the new employees because, again, we're self-funded, and it didn't have a replacement fire truck that if the fire department stays in Valley Center, we know we have to replace it, so that's a cost we know is coming. We didn't have those figures in yet. I'll tell you where we landed, and then I'm going to move you into a place where we put them in, but just bear with me for a minute. Where we stand right there, the current mills are 10.52, 26 bolstered, 16.74, 17.28 once we get the new the amortized payment in there. What those numbers did not include is that in 2026, that's just the operating numbers. In 2026, we still have to pay to remodel the fire station, bring employees on now because we have to start training. This is going to take some time. So we're going to have some expenses come in 2026 that are non-budgeted because when we set the 2026 budget, this was not on the radar. This is a non-budgeted expense. So now we've also got to come up with about $300,000 in cash in some form. These are loose numbers. I want to be very clear about that. The estimation on the remodel at the fire station is just that. It's an estimation. We don't have hard numbers yet. We're still reviewing codes. We think we're pretty close, but we're getting there. So again, just to recap, we would be at about 16.74, 17.28, but we know we needed those extra costs in for the annual operating, and we know in 2026, we're gonna need about $300,000 just to get it going. Something happened from the time we put these numbers out to today, and that is that budgets are happening and deadlines are happening currently. We now have 2027 valuations. We also had a date of July the 20th that we had to let the county clerk know how much we were going to levy. Not because we were submitting the budget yet, sorry for all these legal details, not because we were submitting the budget yet, but because there's a taxpayer notice that goes out by law to all of you that own property, and it would tell you for each taxing district how much we levied last year, how much we're going to levy this upcoming 2027 budget, and what the difference means to you personally on your property. We're required by law to let the county clerk know how much we're going to levy so you can get that notice. So the council had to make a decision because we didn't have a decision yet on fire. We didn't have the final numbers that I told you were missing yet when we prepared this, because this was on July the 7th. So the council had to make a decision that since we don't know which way this is going, we're going to have to submit to the county clerk what it will take to actually operate the fire district in Valley Center, so that if we have to, when we do submit the budget and we prepare the budget to go to the public in September, that we can put it in there if necessary. So let me just be clear on that. We had to go ahead and put in numbers. I'm going to show you what they are in a minute on the next slide deck. We had to put in those expenses that were missing, get the true cost to operate. We had to submit it to the county clerk. That's going to appear on your notices as a taxpayer. I want to be clear on two things again. That does not mean that Valley Center has to levy that much. When the budget is certified to the clerk, that's what will determine how much we levy. But we had to put it in there or we wouldn't have a meeting tonight because we couldn't levy that much. So when you get your tax statements, please be aware that that's in there. But again, pay attention to the public hearing for the budget that will come up in September because that's where it's going to show the actual levy. So now I'm going to show you what those numbers look like that we did have to submit to the county clerk, and I'm also going to show you how this changes. And again, watch those mills and dollars because this is how this stuff works. So the numbers on the left are identical from that last slide deck where I showed you we were at 10.52, 16.74, 17.28. We need the extra $300,000 in 2026, and now we're going to put these extra, because again, we have another fire truck that's coming online that needs replaced. So we had to put that in, we had to put hospital claims in. So this is what happens at the top of slide deck 19. When we add those costs in, we still have the $300,000 over here. It's a separate thing that we're talking about. We still got to come up with that in cash in 2026. But over here on the operating costs in 2027, that takes our cost up to $1.6 million. That takes our mills up to 18.42. However, this is how the magic of that mill number works. The valuation data came in. Last year, our valuation data that we used, it was 2025, so we used it for the 26 budget. It was 87 million. The new valuation is 95 million. What happens to the mill, if you're levying the exact same amount of dollars, if your valuation comes in and your valuation is higher, your mill goes down. If your valuation is lower, your mill goes up. Same dollars. So I want you to see what happens now that we're transitioning into 2027 numbers. You're going to see different numbers with the public. Because what it is now is to levy the same 1.6 million. We're still talking about the same amount of money. Now you're going to be at 16.988 mils. That's just how it works. But it's the same amount of money. It is $1.616694 million. So as you can see, what we now know today is that the difference as a 24/7 station results in a minimum 6.47 mill levy increase to Valley Center property owners, which is a tax increase from the current amount, the $900,000 we currently levy today, to get up to the 1.6. We're going to have to add $694,000 to the mill levy. plus the 2026 non-budgeted amount, we'll still have to somehow come out of cash this year. So let's take a look at what that does to your property. On slide deck 21, you now have a new estimated assessed valuation in here, that 95 million. The value of the mill is now worth more. In order for Valley Center, what we sent to the county clerk was 67.118. That's our total valuation that we submitted for that notice that's going to go to you. That would make the total ad valorem dollars for Valley Center at 6.3 billion. Of that, 16.988 would be the mills for the fire department, as I just explained a minute ago. And the total ad valorem dollars is that same number again, you should get familiar with, 1.6 million. Now, what you'll see on that right side, I left in there where you were at today. So today, you get the $250,000 residential property, you're paying $302,000. When we bolster, that's the direction that the council and the community decides to go, you're going to be looking at $488 a year for that $250,000 home. That's an increase of $185. You have a $300,000 commercial property, you're now going from $789 to $1,274. It's an increase of $485 a year. So that's option 4. Okay, now I'm going to quickly move into option 5, and I'm going to cover kind of the financial piece of it. And then I know there were a lot of questions for our fire committee, because again, our goal is transparency. So if we're really doing the right thing by the taxpayer, we're bringing you all the options unbiasedly. And you get to make the decision on what you want to pay for and what level of service you want. So as we move into 5, we had a lot of questions. Because if we're really looking at that fairly and uniformly, because our job is to give that to you guys, then there were a lot of questions that we had, and I'm going to let Sedgwick County work on those here in a minute, but I'm going to just stick to the financial piece for a minute. And I'm going to work off the levy of 16.754. I don't believe 2027 has officially been established, but we're going to work off of the mill of 16.754. So as you move into that, what would happen on option 5 financially to the taxpayer Valley Center? So share a little bit there for the fire district's estimated assessed valuation. They're at 1.5 billion today. You take Valley Center's 95 and add to it, you get 1.6. The value of the mill, 1.6 million. If they're levying 16.754, their dollars look different. I want to be clear on that. I don't want to speak for Sedgwick County, but their dollars look different because they have a much larger tax base. But what I wanted you to see is what does that actually mean for Valley Center? So to Valley Center, that 16.754 would levy $1.594 million. So it's not levying 27 million, it's levying 1.5 million. And what does that do to you as a taxpayer? As you can see on the right side again, basically you'd go from 302 a year on that residential property to 481, a difference of 179, and from 789 to 1256, a difference of 467.55. That next slide just puts those two together for you, option 4 and option 5, so you can kind of just see them side by side. So you can see that option 4 was a difference of 185 a year, and option 5 was 179. And then on the commercial side, it was 485 and I can't remember, 467. It's getting too small for my eyes to see. So you can see there's not a large degree of difference. I did not project any future numbers for you. And again, I want to be transparent on this piece because again, I do think it is at the discretion of you all and this council to make this decision. And I want you to do it with all your facts. I keep saying that because it is likely that our mill will continue to increase if you look at what our costs continue to do. So I want to say that out loud, not for any reason except if Valley Center citizens decide that they want to keep the fire department here, that's great. You know what the cost will be, and there is a potential the cost will continue to increase a bit because that's what we've seen happen with our HR side, with our costs for employees and insurance and so forth. Hopefully that reduces something, but it has continued to go up a little bit. I just want to be very open and transparent about that, not to sway or change a decision, but to give you an educated one. Because if you're going to pay for those services and that's what you decide to keep and the costs go up a little bit, I just want you to know that in advance, that's a decision you make today. And if that's a decision you make, that's an okay decision. but I want you to make it with full facts and knowledge. And that is about all that I have. I'm gonna let Sedgwick County take it from there to talk a little bit about what it would look like to continue option 5. And I will switch you.
I'll hold it for now, guys. Well, thank you so much. I'm Commissioner Ryan Beatty. I'm the County Commissioner. It's good to see so many people. I want to thank City Council, Mayor, City Council, thanks for the invite to this. Cinder, that was really impressive to explain some really complicated things relatively quickly and easily, so nice job. I'm going to hand it over for some of the questions that let's see if I can help here. The council has asked several questions of Sedgwick County Fire. I'm going to hand it over to our chief, Doug Williams. We have some other people from Sedgwick County that are here as well. I'll hand that over. I want to first just say a little context as to how we got here. I think that's helpful. The fire district is about 630 square miles. And it's got all the unincorporated area plus 10 partner cities. A lot of the neighboring cities, Mays, Park City, Keachai, Bel Air, Goddard, Hazel, these are all partner cities of Sedgwick County Fires where they don't have to fund their own fire department. They partner in with Sedgwick County to produce the fire services. That fire district in Sedgwick County Fire has a citizens advisory board that in October of last year sent the county commission a letter. And that letter highlighted 3 specific concerns that they asked us to address. The first concern was about taxing inequities. They had some concerns about some of the aid agreements. The second concern was about age agreements. Some of these mutual aid agreements that were 30 plus years old, and some legal concerns in that they asked us to address. The third one is why we're here tonight. And I think Cinder did a great job. It was a safety concern of 5 specific cities, and Valley Center was one of those cities, that there were concerns about when Sedgwick County Fire is called upon an aid call, that the turnout on these fire scenes was not sufficient to guarantee safety for citizens and firefighters. That was the conversation that we couldn't look the other way. That was in October of 2025. We sent a letter to September 2025. In October, we alerted the cities, and that's when conversations began. So Cinder did a great job of highlighting some of these conversations, but I wanted you to understand some of the background of how we got here and why we're having these conversations as to what the solution is for Valley Center. As your county commissioner, I've got to look out for the interests of the fire district, for Sedgwick County firefighters, but also for the constituents in this community, to where we can find an agreement that works best so you can be protected. And I think everyone in this room is committed to try to do that. So that's a little background and context of how we got here and why we got here. I want to introduce the Sedgwick County Fire Chief, Doug Williams. I think he's going to walk through some of the questions that were given to us, specific questions, and kind of just walk you through what that looks like and some of the answers to provide a little bit more cover and context. So, and then we'll stand for any other questions that you guys have.
Good morning, everybody. It's Doug Williams, Sedgwick County Fire Chief. Is this working?
Yeah.
Okay. As Commissioner Beatty said, we were, Sindra and Public Safety Director Newman sent us a request for information that they wanted us to provide to them to make decisions as far as what our process would be and what we would think on how we would handle Valley Center if they chose to come into the fire district. And so I'll walk through them. I think we got covered at the council meeting back in July, but we'll go through them pretty quickly. Question number 1 was, if Valley Center joined the fire district, will the fire station be based in Valley Center? And we said yes. To provide the response that we would want to provide to your community, we can't fulfill that from the Park City station. So we had said that our full intention would be to build a new fire station in the community. Question 2 was, if yes, how would that station be staffed and operated? And originally we would start out with a 3 per shift station, which would be 9 personnel would be assigned here. You understand when we put 9 here to maintain that on a 24/7, 365 schedule, it's basically going to cost us 11 people to cover vacation, sick leave, injury leaves, and all of those things that come with that. So the investment to us to get the 9 people would be to have 11. it would be originally staffed with 3. We said that right now the Valley's station is not overnight capable, so we would run them here from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and then we might have to move that truck back to Station 32 to respond overnight until we can put up some kind of a temporary quarters. It could be a construction building or some type of facility like that we could house our folks in overnight until we got a station remodeled or a new station built. What do you estimate your response times to be? We looked at other communities, whether it's Bel Air or Hayesville, Goddard. We looked at the response times we have in those communities where we have a fire station, and our response times in those stations from the time the call is hit to our station until we're on scene, it's less than 4.5 minutes. And that also includes right now the software we have doesn't siphon out emergency versus non-emergency calls. So it could be like if we respond to just a lift assist or something, it could be just normal driving, or it could be a fast drive to a heart attack or a building fire. But we right now can't track that out, so we just have to say that it's 4.5 minutes, no matter whether we respond fast or slow. We'll get there in less time than that. And then the question was, do we plan to utilize the existing fire station or construct new? First off, we would have to look at the viability of updating Valley Center's current fire station to see where it was viable, or whether it would be smarter to build a new station. One of the things that we would definitely look at if we were to do that was what's the best location in Valley Center for a fire station. You know, maybe it might need to be relocated to provide better services. Your community continues to grow, whether it's north, whether it's west, whether it's southwest. So to me, when we get ready to build a station, we would definitely do the study to get a best placement for the community out of that fire station. If we made improvements to the fire station, what would be the timeline? We have said that the day that Valley Center would vote, or council would vote to come into the fire district, we would start the process of planning a new fire station, figuring out where it's going to be built, and get the process started. It'd be immediate the fastest we could do it. If we made improvement to the stations, where would the response time, and are back to the same thing. If we did make improvements, the intent would be to keep the bays open and run the truck out of there during the day. And if you had a house with firefighters out back, that's what we would try to do. Worst case scenario is the truck would move back to 77th and 135 and run out of there overnight would be the worst case scenario. So, number 3 was asked if we didn't build a station, where would we come from? It's not an issue because the intent would be to build a station. Would a unit from Valley Center ever have to leave the city and cover another fire district station or area during a major event somewhere else in the county? And we don't do that. We don't empty a station to relocate units. What we do is the stations that have 2 units in them, we relocate those stations. Station 32 in Park City has 2 units in it. If they would be the ones, the Maysville station would be the same way. They would be the ones that would move units around, not the single house units. Like we have a single house unit in Andale, Garden Plain, and we do not move those units to cover other areas because they're out there for a reason and we don't move them. The thing that we do at times, we've had to do it, is if you had both the Park City and Valley Center station on a call, the May station could come over and maybe they park at 77th and Broadway to cover both areas until we could move somebody from Bel Air or from Station 36 down south. Or, you know, we continually move units around from the 2 station units to cover. And the worst case scenario is we sit in between. So I just want to let you know that we don't empty stations to move. The question was how will the district back up Valley Center if calls a Valley Center unit is already dispatched to another location? If the Valley Center unit responded out 5 miles out outside of town. We would move Station 32's unit over here, would be the primary one. If it wasn't available, we would move the base unit over also to cover Valley. So like I said, we move units around pretty quickly if we have them that are going to be tied up for any period of time. The closest, if we were to come in, if Valley came and joined the fire district, what would be our closest stations that would also be responding? We would have the unit here, we would have the 2 units coming out of Park City, we would have 2 units coming out of Mays. You also have them coming from Bel Air, and then with our agreement with Wichita, you would get a unit from Station 13, which is down at 4500 Meridian, somewhere in that area down there by that church. And how does SCFD1 meet 1710 standards to get the 10 and 10? And the first question is if we have a 3-person station in Valley Center, we have 6 in Park City, you would have 9 on scene within 5 minutes. So, and then wherever the other one came from to fulfill that quickly. But our normal response on a structure fire is 4 engines, which is 12 people, 2 tenders, which is another 4, would be 17, and 2 battalion chiefs. So our normal response to a structure fire is 19 people. So that's what you're going to get. Like I said, at Valley Center, you're going to get 9 here in probably the first 5 minutes because you're going to get the station out of 77th and 135, as well as the unit we would have here. Next question was, would the Sedgwick Fire District 1 guarantee employment to the existing Valley Center firefighters, and if so, where would they be located? I have already spoke with the manager's office, with Commissioner Beatty. I've met with the HR director, and all of the current Valley Center firefighters would be offered positions. They would be laterally transferred in where we would count in their time and grade, including the lieutenant. And so they would be offered positions, and as long as they met the minimum standards, which I've talked to Public Safety Director Newman about, and our standards is passing CPAT, driver's license, high school diploma, and an EMT, and a background check and drug screen. And I've been assured that the background check and drug screen shouldn't be a problem, according to Mr. Newman. So, but anyway, that was our plan. When these guys switched from a 42-hour week to a 56-hour week, right now the pay raise would be pretty substantial for us. They would be also included our budget right now that if something doesn't go crazy on us. Our budget right now has a slotted 8.15% pay increase January 1 for all firefighters. They would be brought in with the schedule included in that 8.1%. Also, we're slated for 6% in 27. So I think that we showed our intention. Our union officers are here. If anybody wants to ask us if they have any problems with it, and they've agreed that the Valley Center firefighters didn't ask for this and that we should treat them fairly and equally, and that is our intent. So can SCFD1 guarantee contractual agreement with Valley Center taxpayers that the mill levy will decrease over the next 3 budget cycles? Over the last 2 years, we've decreased almost 1.25 mils of our mill levy. We were slated to increase this year. We held even for a couple reasons. We held even because we have substantial pay rates to try to keep pace with our neighbors in Wichita. But also, we all recognize that every candidate that's running for governor and for office right now is running on tax lids and appraisal caps. And we're highly concerned that it wouldn't be a good time to drive the mill levy down and then get caught under something that we don't know what's going to happen next year in the state legislature. So we agreed. However, it is our intent, and I think you got the guy right here that's been instrumental behind reducing our mill levy every year. I think you'll see in the future it will probably continue to go down. He's shaking his head. Those guys over there don't like it. But And has the fire district modeled any debt loads for equipment, facility needs for the station in Valley Center? And if so, what's the projected impact? And yes, we have projected the impact of personnel and the intake of what we would get in our mill levy. And we've done the impact on a $3.5 to $4 million fire station. We've done it basically by what we think we might offer Valley Center for a fire truck and some equipment that they own that we would want to keep here and maintain here. So yes, we have done that, and we are going to do it with 0 mill levy increase. And has the fire district taken into account the growth of Valley Center, the potential for 700 homes, and are we going to be able to scale up to meet that? And all of our fire stations today are built to handle an 8-person crew. So if we build a new station here, it would be built on the same concept of our station in Mays, our station in Andale, station down southeast. And it would be built where it would have the capability of an 8-person crew. So if Valley Center's growth and call volume demanded that we go from 3 to a second unit here, it wouldn't be hard to do. It would just be a matter of hiring the people and putting the equipment here. And if Valley Center bolsters personnel to an acceptable response standard to remain an independent department, would the Fire District 1 consider reestablishment of mutual automatic aid? We said that Valley Center would need to bolster to create a capability of handling the normal structure fire incidents without assistance, including command and safety standards. And if that was met, SCFD 1 would maintain a mutual aid agreement. Does the fire district meet NFPA 1710 without agreements with Wichita or Derby? And right now, we think we could in most of the small cities. Out in the rural area, probably be more of a challenge. However, we are going on 20 years of an agreement with Wichita. We're going on 15 years with an automatic aid with Derby. And right now, you would have to have a consultant come in and study all of our data without their data to be able to make that really an accurate statement. But, you know, right now we cohabitate stations with Wichita. Our stations have been built with Derby and other people, and those decisions are made based on the interaction and the enhanced agreements that we have. So it would just, that would be something that would really be difficult to calculate. But with our current deals, we're meeting NFPA 1710, we're meeting the NFPA safety standards, we're meeting 1582, which is more of a safety and health standard, and the training standards and the gear standards. And, you know, we're striving to meet all of those NFPA guidelines to the best of our ability. What are the future plans for relocation of Station 32 at 77th and 135? There is 0 plan to move it at this time. We do know that the growth of Valley Center, the growth of Park City, the growth of Bel Air, the growth of Keachai, especially Mays, Goddard, we know that with all the growth patterns that at some point in time in the future, we're going to have to do some relocations, especially because we need to build a new station in Bel Air, and we need to we're going to have to hire a consultant that's going to come in and do a study and tell us all of that picture. And that's several years down the road. It's not even in our 5-year plan. So it's down the road, but we would have to have an analysis to tell you, but at the current time, there's nothing in a 5-year plan to move Station 32. At 77th and 135. How would Valley Center and rural areas ISO change if provided services by the fire district? The fire district, all of our member cities that we have a fire station in have a Class 2 rating, and that's mandated by ISO. It's all the same. So if Valley Center joined us, they would immediately get a Class 2 ISO rating. The areas outside of Valley would not change. They would stay the same. And an ISO rating is insurance services rating, and that's what many of your many of your insurance agencies use ISO ratings of fire departments when they determine what your homeowner's insurance costs. So the lower your ISO rating, the better. And it goes from a 1 to a 10. 10 is considered no fire protection. So anywhere from 1 to 10, we're a class 2 in Park City, Mays, Bel Air, all the class cities. And if Valley joined us, they would become a 2 because they're all the same.
What is Valley now?
Right now, I believe it's a 4. Is that correct? And then we also commented, one of the things that we said, because it's been mentioned to us that, what do you do other than have a fire station and go on calls? And we do all of the inspections. We do, the plans reviews for businesses when they build to make sure they meet code. We have public education programs where we work in the schools. We do all of the events. I mean, it's trunk or treat. We have, we've gotten a challenge in 2 cities already where the rec center's invited our guys out for a water fight with the kids, the super soakers versus the fire hoses. They have good intentions. They generally don't come out well, but they do start out with a lot of energy. So we do all that. And one of the advantages is, we work directly with the city managers and the rec directors in those communities. And one of the things in most of these communities, like Hayesville is an example, we'll teach CPR and we'll work with different things in their community. And for that, they let our firefighters go to the rec center for free and work out. And so we have that constant interaction with these cities. We have arson canine dogs and investigative crews and full service EMS response, obviously, that all fire departments are doing now. Anyway, I'm not going to go through it all. That's in your deal. But other than that, I can answer questions whenever.
I'm going to go ahead and end the presentation portion and turn it back to council, but I will just close on slide deck number 33. A couple of items that we won't get heavily into, but should be mentioned. Thank you, Chief, for covering the ISO rating. That is something that has relevance and value for homeowners and property owners insurance policies, so that's something that is important to everyone. We have kind of been instructed right now, Valley Center is at a 4 in the district. Valley Center would be at a 2. If we bolster, we are told we could likely stay at a 4 with some improvements as well. So that is the ISO rating. If you have more questions on that, you can pose those at the podium. There was some extensions, an official request submitted on July the 14th to Fire District 1 that the City Council did officially request an extension of the auto and mutual aid agreements. I'll let you guys comment on that. But it is with the deadline approaching and knowing that there is a need to work through this process from a budgeting cycle and from a realistic staffing cycle. The City Council has made an official request for that extension. And then the last couple of points that we would camp on is just a good topic for discussion is the need for that auto aid agreement to be reestablished in order for option 4 to be a possibility. The backup support would be necessary, and so that's a topic that has to be monitored, and I know is a topic of discussion on both governing parties. And then, of course, this is actually something new. Council, I'll kind of turn my direction for a minute. Something that I wanted to make sure was also just as a point of consideration is if you go with option 5, and that does, basically what it does is it shifts the mill levy from one entity to another, is what that's basically going to do. And in doing that, that would reduce Valley Center's mill levy significantly, which, as you know, would play a role in the ratio calculation for the 1% said kind of sales tax portion that we do receive. That is a moving number. It moves constantly. I did model some ratios on that just for fun because I wanted to see what the impact would be. And I'm just going to throw a ballpark number. I mean, and it just moves all the time, but it doesn't move right now because, the recent House bill that was passed is going to hold it in place until December 31st of this year, but then it should continue to move in the apportioned ratio that's been set by statute. After that, unless another bill changes it, unless there's a big change that makes it different. But there is an estimated $40,000 to $60,000 potentially a year adjustment on the sales tax revenue that we would also receive that Valley Center would have to adjust for in some way. And that's a decision and a conversation we can present at council and talk more about, but I certainly want to make sure that it was brought up. The last thing that I would mention is I did speak with Representative Steve Hubert today, and just as a courtesy, we know that this is just such a difficult decision, no matter which way we go. And so relying heavily, I wanted the community to know also that the council had inquired about the possibility of putting this on the election, because they do want to hear from the people. Unfortunately, because of those timelines that I mentioned earlier on those budget deadlines, those dates will not line up. And so I know that one of the things that the representative had suggested is maybe even an informal opinion poll could be something that was helpful. I know the council does want to hear what those constituents want. It's your fire services and it's your tax dollars. And so we're, again, glad that you're here. I hope that you carry this information out to the public. I'm very excited to hear opinions and questions so the council can have that information. And again, I just thank you for your time. I'll turn it back to council and stand for questions.
Is this working? Okay, does the council want to say anything before we start hearing from the public? Okay. Like I said, we're anxious to hear from the public after this presentation. We have, I have several here, and during the presentation, we may have stirred more questions, so feel free to raise your hand and come to the podium and state your name and your address. And we'll try to limit this to 3 minutes. We have 111 people here tonight, so that's, we don't want to be here until midnight. So anyway, I'm going to start calling people to the podium. It looks like Jim, is it Hoke?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate you having this meeting. First off, I hadn't heard that September of 25 letter deal. I just heard like we got 30 days notice, we're going to shut this off. I thought that was a very short time frame. I also think from September till now is fairly short. So I want to say to the county commission through our representative, we need more time. I mean, I don't know why 35 years it worked and suddenly we couldn't add 18 months, 24 months, whatever it is. So that's just input for whatever it's worth. Maybe to the fire chief, is that the right title, chief? I live right on the edge of Valley Center to the east. Just south of me, there's a house and some buildings, some outbuildings. They're in the county. When we get a fire response for that, if we ever would, how would that change, or what happens now? I mean, it's a block.
In your question, what would change in the future if Valley Center would handle the property on one side, we'd handle the property that's in the district on the other, which is the way it is today, actually.
So that wouldn't change.
The only difference is you're not going to get boosted by one or the other.
I'm not going to get what?
It depends. If it's a grass fire, it'd be handled by the agency.
I was thinking a structure fire.
Structured fire, today, you're going to get both. In the future, we could get one or the other.
Okay, we would end up the same number of people responding?
No.
Okay.
No, you're talking if Valley Center stays, Valley Center, and we stay Sedgwick County
Yeah.
without an automatic aid agreement, they would have to request us to your house, and we would have to request them to the other side of the street.
Okay. If we enter into an agreement, become part of Fire District 1 this year, and decide that we still want to build to the future of having our own department, is that something that could happen? Who wants to take that one?
I don't know why I'm not sure I'm the right party for that, because it's really gonna fall into the fire district. It becomes a district. When that taxing district, if Valley Center joins Fire District 1,
Yeah.
we legally become part of their fire district. So I would have to look at statutorily, what is even legally possible there for that to separate. That's why I'm leaning more on Rusty. This is a huge question.
Not an attorney, but I'll fix that. If Valley Center, based on your input, decided to opt into the district, petition into the district, once that legal action was complete, then they would become part of the district. And at that point, Valley Center, I don't believe, has the legal authority to arbitrarily leave the district without legal action by the commission.
Okay, but I mean,
So with that,
between the two of us, we could decide, okay, we can come out, take both of us.
There would be another legal.
We'd have to
action.
make the request, the county would have to approve, something like that.
We would need lawyers to get involved. It wouldn't be as easy as them simply saying, we're not going to be in the district anymore.
I understand. I'm just saying, it could be done.
Possible.
Okay. I guess my last question would be hiring practice. Right now, I think all of our Valley Center firefighters, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, come from this community. Is that right?
They weren't necessarily born and raised in this community,
Yeah.
but once we hire them, yes, they're required to live within 1 mile of the city limits.
Okay. Would that change if you guys took over, if we became part of Fire District 1?
Well, what we've said is that we would hire all of their current firefighters, and if they chose to want to be stationed here, that would be extended to the current firefighters. As far as beyond that, no, there wouldn't be a living requirement because we don't have those living requirements in any other city.
Okay. Okay. I think that's probably more time than I should have taken, but thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I can, Jim, you asked a question about timing. I appreciate that question. A lot of it is that the mutual aid agreement that we had required a 90-day notice in the agreement, which is why the 90-day terms. The council has asked for an extension. I believe that we're going to honor the extension. When you talk about longer, 12, 18, 24 months, frankly, we wouldn't be here if we didn't think there was a safety concern. So extending it out a year, 2 years, in my view, we would be willfully turning our face away from a known issue. And when you talk about citizen safety and firefighter safety, I just don't think that that's a wise decision. I think we need to be prudent in these decisions and make decisions as a community. Either Valley Center is going to scale up or Sedgwick County Fire is going to scale up. But knowing there's an issue and looking the other way for a couple of years, I just don't think that's responsible.
Okay. So for 35 years, it was okay. Something happened in the last 90 days to change it?
The agreement didn't, the current agreement that we're using for the automatic aid was entered into in 2011. The old agreement, which was a mutual aid agreement, is the one that you're talking about for 35 years. So our comment is we want to go back to that agreement currently because right now the current agreement we don't believe works effectively and safely.
So mutual aid as opposed to automatic. Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, I'm going to line up a few people so we've got a little time. Lou, you're next. Chris Coughlin, if you'll stand behind Lou and Matt McCruddick, you'll be next in line. And also, if some of these other people answer your question that you choose not to speak, let us know that too. Thank you. Okay, Lou.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Lou Cicerello, 10411 Old Trail Circle, Valley Center. I also have the same concerns about the timing of this. my instinct is, even though you're talking safety, is that this is a money grab. Hear me out. Because you all know that there is no way these cities, if they choose to spin up full-time, can do that, okay? Now, Chief mentioned, we're talking about auto, not manual or, right? So there is a bit of a difference in that for the people that don't understand that. And that was very well explained. So are the numbers, mind you. I'm not disputing any of those numbers. But it is the notice thing that has gotten, I think, me and obviously at least one other person. Now, one of the items that does concern me, and Sandra, I might have misheard you, but did you say option 3 was off the table? Which is the pursue alternate?
I actually said that that should continue to be pursued, but
Okay.
it wouldn't solve the immediate.
You're right, okay, that's true. Because, so that was my misunderstanding. So, okay, now, the way I see it, and for those of you that don't know, I was the previous mayor before Mayor Truman and a council member for 13 years prior to that. Again, this situation that has just come up over my 17 years was never brought up to the city council, that there was even a problem. The city's goal has always been, while I was along on the council, was to make our fire department full-time, 24/7, because we knew the city was growing, okay? We've done it slowly, as we talked about, costs were part of that. And we were slowly working into the full-time business. So like I said, my concerns are, one, that I don't like the way that was, the timeline, that the cancellation was coming. I agree that even an extension to the end of the year is not sufficient to work on budgeting. My suggestion would be the council to please look at the other options to find out if we can get a mutual aid somewhere else, okay? We know that the Wichita stations, the 2 Wichita stations that are close to us, if that was what we chose, 37th and Meridian and 29th in Broadway, I can't remember exactly where that's at. Both of those are relatively close. My other interesting statement was going to be, let's say we go, right, and say, okay, we're gonna do our own, and we don't do a mutual aid, okay? The county now becomes a little bit more in the cost, because we support them as much as they support us, maybe more. I don't honestly remember the numbers. And if the county has a fire at 125th Street, and I'm not sure how far west this station covers, we're there with them, okay? And I get the full-time thing, and I'm not disputing any of the stuff you said. I totally get it, which is where, like I said, we were going. But it's just, there's that option too, right? We don't have to have an agreement with you. And your citizens that are not part of this area, that are out there, would then suffer, right? And trust me, is that an idea I want? No, I get it, okay? But I'm just saying, there are other scenarios that may not have been looked at. So that's all I had to say. I totally appreciate the number of things. I totally appreciate, Chief, your side of the story. You did actually answer a lot of the questions I had in my head prior to coming here, which really cut down the amount of conversation I was going to have. But in reality, which either way, right? Even if tomorrow you say we're going to go to Fire District 1, we've already talked about the limitations of our fire station. They said they were going to take care of the remodeling. They're going to buy the equipment, which is what I did not know. Okay, so those are some of the things. But I think as the city of Valley Center grows, it may be beneficial to go full-time, right? And then go back and get a mutual aid type, or I keep saying mutual, and I keep forgetting, and I know better, automatic aid as opposed to a manual mutual aid, I think is what the other statement was. So those are my opinions. I gave you what I know is fact and had my questions as a member of the city council, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I want to talk about the only thing I would address, I'm going to turn it over to Chief, is the money situation and the money grab situation, with the phrase you used.
Did I use it? Yes.
Yeah. The cost of what it would take us to scale into Valley Center is going to be, if not equal, it'll be more, the cost to maintain a station at Valley Center than what assessed value dollars is going to be coming in. So it's not going to be a net gain financially for the fire district, and the chief can kind of explain that.
And I'm not saying it's a net gain, but I'm just saying the fact that you've left us with a very small window to make a huge decision makes it act like it's a money grab, right? That's my approach to that.
And I appreciate it, and that's certainly not the perception we want, absolutely.
And it would surprise me if that was the perception that you wanted, but yeah, that's what I really meant by that.
I appreciate it, Mayor. I'll let the chief talk about those numbers.
I apologize for that. We've heard the same discussion, whether it be Clearwater, or whether it be Cheney, as well as here. So we did a cost analysis, and if the city of Valley Center, and it's in Cinder's presentation, if you came in the fire district next year, our mill levy would generate $1,594,000. Okay. As I told you, for us to have 3 people here 24/7, 365, we have to have a 20% backfill cost. Our personnel cost us $100,000 per person. That might seem extent, but
No.
Cinder spoke of it, because when you talk about the salary, and our starting pay is going to be close to $60,000, we have to pay a 23% KPNF retirement to the state for that person, 23%. And we have to pay 7.25% of their FICA match. So that's 30%. Then we have to pay for their healthcare costs. So we add 35% to the cost of the salary of every firefighter. Our fire captains make $100,000 or slightly more, down to the basic firefighter that starts around 60. So as you can tell, when you take a $100,000 captain and a couple, maybe $75,000 firefighters, and you add 39 of them plus the 2 backfill, that makes 11. It's $1.1 million in personnel. We've told you we're going to build a $3.5 to $4 million fire station. So above our personnel, we would have about $400,000 left. Okay, it will take us 10 years to pay off that building. And then we've told you that we'll buy your fire truck.
Yeah.
It's a $700,000, $800,000 fire truck and a tender and some other equipment. We've already estimated that we will not recapture our money in 10 years.
Okay.
We're doing this because we feel that it's better for our firefighters and the fire service as a whole to look at this progress. That's why we're doing it. But it is not a money grab. In every community, whether it's Cheney, whether it's Clearwater, whether it's Valley Center, whether it's Coleridge, it is a net loser over the first 10 years for us.
Okay.
So to accuse us of a money grab is just
Well, like I
actually not
said,
correct.
and I really wasn't, like I said, it was more, it's just, that seems to be that perception. And again, as a previous governing body member, I do understand the numbers, I do understand how that works. And it's just everything that I've heard from people that still come to me, even though I'm not an elected official, and it's really why I actually addressed it. Okay, so no, I know it's not a money grab. I mean, I see that. It just, as real quick, one thing I've learned on the city government, perception is 130% more important than reality. Okay, so, and again, thank you guys, everybody, very much.
Thanks, Lou.
Lou, I was going to address a couple of things that you had said. So as far as the aids that you mentioned, we don't know what council's going to decide yet, or what the citizens want yet. I will tell you, we are preparing for either way. So if the council decides to keep our department, bolster the department, grow, we've already started having conversations with the other agencies for aid agreements. And as far as the calls, you mentioned the calls in the townships. It's true that it's an auto aid in that when a structure fire comes out in Valley Center, Grand, or Park Township, they're automatically going to send our truck because we have this auto aid agreement currently. But we're also contractually obligated to respond to those because we have contracts with those 3 townships currently. That's something that'll be up for discussion with council at a future meeting.
Well, thank you. I came up here to actually try to get more information, knowing how this all works. And again, I do want to apologize. It wasn't, I said it the wrong way, but thank you, everybody. I think you've answered a lot of the questions, a lot of them which I already knew the answers, but wanted to get them out in the public. So appreciate it. I'm going to try this one more time.
Hello, Christopher Kaufman, 939 Old Trail Road. Full disclosure, I am a full-time career firefighter and I do volunteer here in this municipality. A couple things I'd like to say is, we talk about mutual aid, we talk about automatic aid. Automatic is, we're coming no matter what, right? Mutual aid is, you need the help, we're coming. That's the way Valley Center's run, Wichita, Sedgwick County, all the neighboring departments. Firefighters are firefighters. You guys can take care of this stuff, you can do whatever, but and my deal is, it kind of seems like the taxes are going up anyway. Is that correct? For $6 more a year, again, I'm not a number guy, we can keep our Valley Center Fire Department. Once we give it up, we give it up. These 12-hour shifts that Valley Center's on, this is stuff that is above my pay grade. It's above what I do. Give us the opportunity as Valley Center, as community members, to take care of this. If the taxes are going up, if you don't give us this opportunity, we're not going to have it. It saddens me, and it does seem that that we've been backed up against a rock and a hard place. It seems like you play our way, or we're not going to play with you at all. That's not the way the fire service is, and it saddens me that this is the way what it's come to. I do have a lot of other things I'd like to say, but your taxes are going up anyway. Why not give us the opportunity to make this department into something better? Give us the opportunity. It is going to take funds. It's going to take buy-in. It's going to take manpower. But once we give it up, we're not going to get it back. And a good portion of your part-time guys are career guys. So you guys are getting a super bang for your buck for what you're doing, for what these guys are doing for you. And these guys truly never, ever get off work unless they are out of this city. They always go to calls. They always respond. And that's way more than what I do as a career firefighter. And you guys should recognize that, because it is, you talk about sacrifices, and these guys are doing it every day, 24/7 in your town, every single day. Thank you.
Hi, Pat Petrakis, 130 Miles Avenue, here in Valley. Can you hear me?
Not very well.
Okay, can you hear me? All right. Do I need to repeat my name? Pat Petrakis. Okay. She knows me. Everybody knows me. Thank you for the nice presentation. I did have a question now that I hear that there was a volunteer firefighter here, that the little handout says we don't have any volunteer firefighters. Is that right?
So the distinction for us, part-time paid, so volunteer, sounds like they don't get paid. We do pay the part-time firefighters when they respond to calls or when they're working on duty, training, things like that.
Okay. I wasn't sure on the projected costs for Valley Center, what the recruitment, retention, training costs would be. Is that all included in the proposed mill adjustment? And that sounds like it sounds like it could be not that hard if there are other firefighters also that might want to go full-time. You have to dig up the money for the firehouse, for the quarters. And I mean, is the city willing to do that? Because it's a short-term amount of money for a change in the small amount of change from the county proposition to the city mill levy raise.
I want to make sure I'm following the question specifically. So the recruitment and retention that you had mentioned just a minute ago, just want to clarify, are you asking if the model numbers that were presented tonight include the projected recruitment and retention? So I'm going to look at Lloyd for that. For what we currently have as operational costs, I'm going to say yes, as in we scaled up by percentage what our current costs for that would be. I'm going to look at them to make sure if there's any additional new recruitment or retention that wasn't involved in those, to make sure I don't answer that incorrectly. Otherwise, yes, those costs are involved.
And then one last question is, if we do decide to just stay with what we're doing and if we decide to bolster the fire department instead of joining Fire District 1, we would need a longer transition time to get that done. Are we just hanging out there in the meantime, like no assistance? And that's it.
Thank you for the question. Thanks for the question. So it's kind of been characterized that Sedgwick County is not being nice and that they're going to leave Valley Center high and dry. Conversations about coverage and responsibility started back in 2018. I've been with the county for a number of years. There were conversations with fire chiefs and electeds were invited, and commissioners held this meeting at the extension office on the west side of town, and very few electeds showed up, very few administrators showed up. They sent a lot of fire chiefs, and after that period of time, all the fire chiefs said, system works great, we don't want to change anything, and the county kind of let it go. As far as the fire board and the fire chief, they kind of let it go and continued as normal. More recently, whenever you have division chiefs who come to the chief and say, we have responded to each of these 5 cities and we showed up with what we're supposed to bring by auto aid, and their volunteers didn't turn out and we were there without adequate support and force. We had to take control of the scene, we had to command it, and we didn't have enough resources to get done what we needed to do, so we had to bring in more county fire resources or otherwise. That's what prompted this to kind of escalate a little bit. It was talked about last year with the former city administrator who indicated he was not interested in that conversation. And then it just continued into this year with a new administrator who probably was caught a little bit off guard. If Valley Center decides in the next month and a half during budget cycle that they want to keep what they got, Sandra has been presented with a mutual aid agreement from the county, and we are in conversations with her at a high level right now as to what that looks like. That's mutual aid, not auto aid. We've talked about the terms of automatic aid and what that would look like if Valley Center bolsters to a 24/7 department and their part-time employees turn out so that they routinely have an adequate force on scene at a structure fire, commercial or residential. Then talks about an automatic aid agreement would be more realistic. If they bolster up to 9 firefighters, 3 per shift, and those 3 firefighters show up and 1 part-time shows up and you still don't have an adequate force, then we still got the same safety problem. So to your point, no, the fire district is not going to leave Valley with no aid agreement at all, no support, no backup. As the gentleman pointed out, fire service is a fire service. But there's going to be some ground rules for both sides. The county's going to have to live up to the mutual aid agreement, and the municipality's going to have to live up to the mutual aid agreement. So nobody's going to be left high and dry, but we're trying to establish some basic guidelines to ensure safety of all the firefighters, of people who might be, if there's somebody trapped in that residence, you have to have enough firefighters to get inside, and if they get trapped, somebody's got to be there to save them. And if you don't have enough firefighters, then things get really dangerous really fast. So again, mutual aid has already been presented to the administrators, and we're talking through that mutual aid agreement. And if it goes beyond that, it will be based on what the city council and the city administrator and the public safety director bring back and say, here's how we're bolstering. Here's what we're going to do to make sure the scene's safe. Can we talk about auto aid at that point? So I hope that answers your question.
Excuse me, can you identify who you are?
I am Rusty Leeds. I'm an assistant county manager. I work for the manager's office and on behalf of the fire board also.
Okay, our next batch is Kelly Parks, John Fred, Benita, Craig, and Allison Club.
Good evening. Kelly Parks, 8005 North Hoover. I know most of you, some of you better than others. I was very close to the Valley Center Fire Department for 17 years, as most of you know. A lot of these details are going to be sorted out by you guys, so I'm not going to get into those. I'll try to keep it with what I had intended to be here for. One part of this does directly affect me, even though I live a couple hundred feet outside the city limits. I'm in Valley Center Township. There's a contract out there. I have some questions a little bit later I will ask about that. I have talked with a few Valley Center Township people. In fact, one township official today, and I haven't heard anything negative about the contract with the city, and in fact, possibly increasing the amount of that contract. I know when I was chief of police, I sat through a lot of meetings and heard people talking about the $2,500. I don't know what it is now, but if it's still $2,500, that hasn't been raised in a long time. I'm not, Lou said something about this, the timeline. I notice your NFPA 1710 marker here has 2020 on it. This has been around a while. About 3 years ago, wasn't this city administrator, but I asked a city administrator, came into his office at that time and said, hey, have you ever thought about a public safety half-cent sales tax just for public safety? Now that would have taken care of a lot of these things that you're talking about, but I guess that just went away, flew over their head. You talk about and I would like to have this answered before I leave here tonight about the $2,500 that was going on in 2006. I don't know if you can get me that or not.
I don't know anything about $2,500. Currently, each township pays us $1,000 a year.
$1,000 a year?
$1,000 a year.
That has gone down then.
And they are, I mean, they're paying us $1,000 a year for Valley Center to respond while still paying fire district taxes.
Sure, but that in fact has gone down apparently. Anyway, I can get together with you later on that.
Okay, well, I just want to add a clarification to that too, because that is in the fire district. So, you know, and again, you kind of come back to that mutual aid response. It's not really standard right now for any of us to charge the other for mutual aid response. And so to increase costs there when they're already being taxed by the district would be something which certainly warrant real respective conversation. So I just want to make clear that they are being taxed and paying fire taxes.
Yeah, I think that is a pittance for the township to come up with $1,000. I think that needs to be raised significantly, and I'm not a big tax raising person. Everybody knows me for that. So anyway, I'll tell you the last 5 years, Chief Williams has been in my living room. We've had some real discussions about a fire bug that was in my neighborhood. And his department, along with Valley Centers, had responded to our fires that we had at our house. We had a a lot of damage on the first one. On the second one, a neighbor called quicker. And in talking about mutual aid, I'm telling you that if you talk about throw out the consultants, throw out the consolidation, throw out the associations, the NFPAs, these guys get out there and do their job. I mean, they arrived at about the same time, but it was coordinated. It was good. They did a great job of saving our house. And there is a difference between grass fires and structure fires, but it doesn't take long in the country for a grass fire to become a structure fire, especially if the wind is blowing and there's unharvested crops out there. Like I say, I think that maybe there's too much credence put on this 1710. Consultants, when you're talking about, I heard the term consultants several times. Man, your best consultants are right with your county people. I really think that. I don't think you need to go out to Massachusetts and get somebody for $100,000 to come in and tell you what to do. Your consultants can be within your own staff. Now, somebody said something about money grabbing a little bit. There's been talk of consolidation for 50 years. Bob Knight, when he was mayor, even had Wichita vote on it, a non-binding vote. And it came back that the people didn't want it. So, consolidation does not save money. I've sat down with people and showed people that. It doesn't save money. It may save some administrative organizational charts, but it doesn't save money. I think that each sovereign little city needs to stand strong and do what they have to make sure that their city operates. I'm not in the city, so I can't tell you to do that. Legally, ethically, I can't tell you to do that. But I think that Valley Center has a great fire department. I think with maybe one or two exceptions, Sedgwick County has a great fire department. I know they made some changes recently that have really helped, that I can see from my point of view, and your fire marshal and some of your things that have happened that's really good. So Chief Williams, anytime you want to talk to me about that, that's fine. I'll be open for that, but 3 minutes is up. Thank you. Any questions of me from you all? Okay.
John Friend, 3901 Palos Verde Circle here in Valley Center. I want to encourage the council and city leadership to continue on option 4. I have major concerns about our community losing control of leadership and management of the fire service. I think these guys do great, and it's just, it's come out with standards. There's, service quality, equipment, methods, operations is an ongoing, growing thing for any business or other company. So it's probably no different in the fire department world. So, but I encourage you to continue forward pursuing option 4. To Chief Williams and Commissioner Beatty, you guys owe it, I think, to us with the short notice you gave. You're terminating these agreements to allow multi-year transition to this and provide transition aid in the meantime. We should have been having this discussion a year ago on July 29th, 2025, but this was a big deal. We should have been having that a year ago. So I think you owe it. These folks here do a great job ensuring service quality in our community. I have full confidence that if we keep this fire department in-house here in Valley Center, I think we'll see success. And with the growth we have, I think it's a wise decision moving forward. Last question is, before I quit, is there any, to the City Council, Valley Center, is any federal or state grants available to help shoulder some of this cost, emergency, either from the federal government or state? This got sprung on here at the last minute, so something to check into. But that's all I have, and thank you for the opportunity to comment.
There are grants out there. We continually monitor those and pick and choose some of the ones that we think we can get at the time. We're going to have to know the answer before we apply for any grants currently. But yeah, we're always watching for grants, both on the police and the fire side.
Super. Okay, thank you.
Allison?
Allison Club, 653 North Abilene. I just want to say thank you very much for having this. A lot of the questions that I had has been answered tonight, and just now as well. I had questions more specifically about option 3 and looking at mutual aid agreements with other surrounding towns and counties. Wichita, Harvey County is probably too far from Valley Center, but I think that there might be some other options, and maybe the committee looked into that. I just would like to know more information on that. I think that Valley Center's fire department is a very strong department. And I would really just like to encourage, I think we do need more time. I understand 100% the 90 days and well within that, but I think as a citizen, I would like to have more time and more information, because that's just what I would like to see, make educated decisions for the best of the city. Also, and Sandra, you touched on not taxing the townships twice. But again, with that, they're already paying the Sedgwick County fire tax, and then they're paying that $1,000 for us too. So there's nothing that's there for option to take that off of all of the citizens within the Valley Center city limits. I was wondering if we had mutual agreements taxing those levies, basically the same thing what they're asking. Sedgwick County is shifting that tax base over that we pay that mill levy. And so paying that to them, the mutual aid that we give to the rural areas and the townships, but they're already paying both of us, is what I am understanding. It's clear as mud. Sorry.
Brief answer, yes, they're paying both. They're paying fire district taxes. They don't pay us taxes. We have a contract, and they pay us $1,000 a year per contract to respond out into those areas with those 3 townships.
So then if we were to go into Fire District 1, that's not going to look any different for the townships. Okay. They just save $1,000 a year. Okay. Well, again, thank you guys very much. Again, as a citizen, I would like to see more on option 3.
So I will tell you on the mutual aid agreements, we have a lot of mutual aid agreements, and much like the agreements that I think Rusty mentioned earlier, one of them is 35 years old. A lot of our agreements are old. The assistant fire chief here, Tommy, and I, we've been working a lot the last couple of months and doing a lot of work. And that is we dug out some of those old agreements. We have some. You mentioned Harvey County's too far. We actually have a mutual aid, an old one, but a mutual aid with new. And so our plan moving forward, should the council vote to keep the fire department, would be to go through all of those and start updating those, making them more current and making sure that, both sides know. Some of them are old enough, there's probably firefighters on those departments that don't even know they exist. So those are things that we know we need to do moving forward should we keep our own department.
Just for clarification for the room, because again, I'm always like making sure everyone understands. That's mutual aid, automatic aid, because again, what is our top priorities? Number one, it's firefighter and citizen safety. So that we're talking about, do we have those aid agreements with other communities? Yes, we're gonna make sure we have those. Yes, we're gonna pursue those and make sure they're even cleaned up and everything is active and current. That's mutual aid. If we are still talking about the need to have safe, adequate response times, that's where we have to be careful. In what we're also trying to do is make sure we have automatic aid from somewhere. We are still going to need it.
So that actually would, if I understand correctly, our response time is quite faster than the survey or the what we're going off of that started all of this within Sedgwick County was 10 firefighters within 10 minutes, correct? And Valley Center's response time, even going 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with our firefighters living within town, respond quicker than the 10 minutes. So I guess what I am having a hard time understanding is if we're responding quicker than that and we're getting mutual aid, even though it might not be from Sedgwick County, if that's the way that we're gonna bolster. What's the safety part of that? That is, like you clarified, because the standard is, are we using their standard that they did with their own survey?
No, we're talking NFPA guidelines or standards, the 10 and 10 minutes. So that's gonna be dependent. I mean, you talked on even after hours, so 7 a to 7 p. Obviously, currently, the way we operate currently, on any type of call, if the firefighters are responding from home, they're not responding from home like a fire truck. So they're getting, if it's in the middle of the night, they're getting up out of bed, getting in their personal vehicle, driving to the station, getting into whichever fire truck they need for that type of call, and then responding to the scene. So obviously the response time is going to be slower when we're doing that, and that's currently what we do. It's what we've been doing for a long time. I think what they're talking about, the 10 and 10, is trying to get those 10, and Sandra said it earlier in the presentation. There are departments all over the nation that don't meet that every single time. That's our goal as well. We want our firefighters to be safe. We want our citizens to be safe. Our goal is to get at least 10 there in that 10 minutes. That's kind of what we're talking about, is trying to bolster to get the numbers, to be able to do that. And currently, that is difficult at times. And especially with the number of full-time firefighters that we have, the number of part-time, as someone said earlier, Sandra said we had 13 to 15 firefighters. The majority of those part-time firefighters are career firefighters in Wichita, Sedgwick County. So they're well-trained, well-qualified firefighters. That means they have their full-time jobs. And so at times, we have struggled getting that 10 personnel on scene.
So it's time to change.
That's what we're trying to correct.
Okay, yeah.
Decide to keep our department.
And that makes sense.
And again, Lloyd, let me know if this is accurate, because again, if we bolster Because we are trying to make sure that we are also meeting safety standards. And if we bolster so that we can get our guys there at the same time, we still have, even the numbers I provided you tonight for option 4, that's not an independent fire service that can make our 10 and 10. That's bolstering so that we meet our sides, so we have an auto aid agreement so that we can have help from the other stations. So I want to make sure that I'm making that very clear to the community. Because just deciding option 4 isn't a standalone option. True or false? I just want to make very clear that I'm communicating that clearly to the public.
Where would we be receiving that from? Which stations?
We're going to have an agreement, automatic aid agreement, if response times are important, and for our safety of our firefighters, response times are important. I want to make something else clear. I know the firefighters will run inside that building. I know that. I respect so much the firefighter that stood up in the room earlier, because that's exactly how I felt the very first meeting that we had when these kind gentlemen had to listen to me say the same thing. This is fire service. If we get to a point where we're looking at fire service from this direction, what has happened to us? Because we're supposed to all be there for each other. And that's true. But at the same time, I don't want to lose anybody out there. And I've got my own firefighters telling me that we have to have the right amount of personnel because we want them to be safe. So again, that's why the council is here, and that's why these discussions are so heavy, is because our goal is safety, our goal is safety, our goal is safety, and to get there, this is what we're facing. But again, to be clear, option 4 is not, even though it's maintaining independence, it's not complete independence, or we are still not going to be safe.
Correct. Just to add to that, when we say 10 and 10, that's the initial goal. That's the 10-minute goal. Chief Williams said it earlier, oftentimes their goal is to have 17 on scene. That's our goal as well. So we want these agreements. We want to get our people there, get them started, and then, get these other departments, coming, because the more you have, the better. I mean, they all have jobs they do. It's amazing, to watch, and they're all doing their different jobs. But then, as Chief said, I think it was Chief, if you get somebody in a building, maybe it was Rusty, you got somebody in a burning structure, the firefighters go in, if they become trapped and become victims as well, we need those additional firefighters out there to go in and rescue our firefighters that are in the house. And so, just to be clear, we're going to rely still on our partners, because 10 is not, the end goal. 10 is the beginning goal. And, we want more.
Well, thank you guys very much for your time. And thank you again for doing this.
Is there anyone else that'd like to address the council?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First off, I want to thank you all for allowing us, Joe Dessenberger, 453 North Valley Creek Drive, Valley Center, Kansas. Thank you all for having this evening and advertising it and allowing the community to come out and have this discussion with you and not doing it in a vacuum. This is such an important conversation, and it ties in with so many other things. I can't believe I've been a member of this community now for 35 years. It doesn't seem possible, but when I first moved to this community, the fire department was pretty much named Torney. The Torneys ran the service station in town. We had another gas station on the corner. We had the co-op that had the store, and we had men working at the co-op, and we had a fire horn. And I remember that when I first moved to Valley Center in Wichita, heard the fire horn go off, and watched all these men drop their whatever they were doing at their businesses and run to the fire station, grab the trucks and go. That was 35 years ago. Unfortunately, times have changed, and we don't have a co-op that has people working in it. The Torney service station is gone, and most people that live in this community now commute elsewhere to work. And when they come home in the evenings, they have kids and family activities that just are a lot different than they did 35 years ago. The time of volunteerism is really tough in public safety.
I've served in public safety myself for many years, and I respect the firefighters, I respect the volunteers. But unfortunately, with all of the safety requirements and everything that goes into public safety now, you need full-time qualified trained personnel doing these dangerous jobs. I've seen them work. Any change that we do is tough. It's going to cost us. I understand that. And with the debt problem that we have on top of this, it hasn't been discussed tonight. It makes it even worse. One of the things that was talked about was the ISO rating. I will say that my own insurance company has told me that going from 4 to a 2 is going to save me over $200 a year on my property insurance. That $200 a year equates to what I would pay in taxes if my home were worth $250,000 on the raise. So it's basically a net wash for me. It doesn't actually raise my total cost of living. A couple things that Sandra talked about just briefly were some of the HR issues. Small cities, which Valley Center is classified as one, are having a more difficult time than larger insurance pools to cover health insurance premiums on employees. We're seeing double-digit increases every year in the small cities. And Sedgwick County, being a large employer, will have an easier time with that. So their costs won't be quite so drastic each year. That's something to take into account. And as we look at this, we need to ask all these questions without emotion. We need to ask what's logical. Our mill levy in Valley Center, like it or not, is an economic driver. It's an economic driver up, it's an economic driver down. The higher our mill levy, the slower our development is going to occur. So anything we can do to reduce the mill, even a half mill, is extremely important, because I guarantee you, development professionals look at that first. And we have high taxes with our school district. We have to be careful with what we do with our city taxes. The target in a suburban community around Sedgwick County with the fire district included is to stay below 60 mills total. If you do that, you're competitive in the housing market, you're competitive in the suburban market for retail. But once you start going above 60 mills, you're going to start seeing business opportunities go other directions. And unfortunately, I think we find ourselves there. So we need to do everything we can do to keep that mill levy as low as we possibly can. I have great experience with the gentleman sitting on the front row up here in various capacities. I started as a rookie police officer when the fire marshal was a rookie firefighter with the city of Wichita. I know these are some of the finest public safety professionals that I've ever worked with or met. And they have everybody's best interest in mind. I just hope that you take this into consideration. And again, thank you very much for giving us this time.
Is there anyone else? Any comments from the council?
Joshua Griffin, 930 Old Trail Road. So a couple of things, and to speak on about the mutual aid stuff that was discussed. One of the things that I would like to add, or not the mutual aid, I'm sorry, but the NFPA, the 10 and 10. And I think one of the things that we're missing is that 10 and 10 is not for medical calls, it's not for car wrecks. We're talking structure fires. Valley Center had 10 structure fires 2025. So we're talking 10 calls of service that we need to meet that 10 and 10. There's not a department out there that's meeting this, right? In Central County, I know they say they can meet it, they cannot meet that. We know that. Without mutual and automatic aid. It's just the way it is. And so to come up here and to say
that we're gonna take away that from you guys, but this is about safety? Where's the safety in that? The safety is, we know that mutual aid and automatic aid is where did the firemen come from to get that 10 and 10. And it's in you know, so my question would be, how does Sedgwick County Fire Department maintain safe operations without aid? And I would ask you, did you cut your aid with all volunteer fire departments? Do you have an aid with Conway Springs? Do they help you because they come to Viola? And that's what keeps your numbers. Their aid wasn't dropped with everybody, right? And that's what makes me have a hard time believing that this is about safety. Another thing would be, take a look at the other county agencies, 911 dispatch. Sedgwick County EMS, not even brought up, right? It's okay that their response times are 10 minutes to Valley Center residents, but we don't look at that. And the fire department has to pick that up, right? The tag office, all Sedgwick County ran, right? We can do better. And the last question that I would have would be, they said that they're going to be able to provide aid because they've got their mutual aid agreement, correct? Wichita Fire Department, they work hand in hand. They got them coming, right? So my question would be, if you're cutting Colwich, your aid with Colwich, Wichita Fire Department has agreements with Colwich. So is Wichita Fire Department promising Colwich that they're still going to get aid because they have this agreement with Sedgwick County Fire Department? Or are you still going to cut their aid? So it doesn't work both ways. They can't stand here and tell you that Wichita Fire Department is going to respond to 125th or the county line. Do we know that? Thank you. And so we don't know that we have that aid. Just because we have a good working relationship, if that was the case, then you wouldn't be cutting your aid with Colwich.
To answer your question, 125th and Meridian, was that your question?
Well, whatever the Valley Center city limits would be.
125th and Meridian is in the fire district, and yes,
Yes, sir.
Wichita aid agreement does address that. And yes, Wichita was in mention to that fire. Question of Colwich is, Wichita does not have jurisdictional authority in Colwich, so Wichita does not have authority to request Sedgwick County in Colwich because they don't have jurisdiction. By a mutual aid agreement, by home rule, St. Valley Center would have. We can't come into Valley Center as a mutual aiding department and request Wichita Fire. That's their prerogative, and that's a decision between Valley Center and Wichita, not us. So as far as Colwich comes, the relationship there is Wichita assists Colwich. If Colwich wants a relationship with us, they have to have it with us, not through a triangle.
Yeah, and I understand that, sir. My question is you have a strong relationship with them, and if it's about safety and they ask you to come, are you coming?
In Colwich,
In Colwich?
I think we've addressed that they have the right to request our aid, yes.
Right. And so my question is, if Valley Center bolsters their fire department like they should, can they ask you for aid?
We've already mentioned tonight that we intend to form a mutual aid agreement, as well as there's already one been sent to the city administrator.
Automatic, not automatic aid?
We haven't had that discussion, no.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. And I would just say, Chief, unless you have anything else for me.
I was gonna say, be assured that we will be making those, agreements.
Yeah.
One way or the other, because none of us can do this by ourselves.
No, and My point being, sir, is if it's about safety, you wouldn't cut those unless you had something that you're trying to bring, that you want to take. You wouldn't drop those aids. You would go to the table and you would say, hey, there's a problem. How do we fix this? Let's fix it together.
Those conversations happened back in January and March with all 5 cities, sir. Those conversations were had.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the comments and your fire service. Assuming your primary service is Wichita Fire Department, so we value that relationship. Aid agreements are very much a part of regional response, very much a part. We have a significant aid agreement with the City of Wichita Fire Department. Over 6,000 times a year, we co-respond on fires, our guys and your guys in the City of Wichita. 2/3 of those are Central County Fire coming into the City of Wichita. So regional fire response is we need aid agreements to cover. 2 clarifying points. In all 10 of our cities that are fire district cities, we do meet all of the NFA, the 10 and 10, and exceed it in all of our fire district cities.
With aid.
Without aid. We can do this without aid in our fire district cities. Where we run into issues is what you highlighted, is there are gap areas of coverage where we need aid agreements. So the second point is that I just want to be very clear. We do want an aid agreement with the City of Valley Center. We want an aid agreement. We've sent an aid agreement. Where we won't compromise, and I hope you would appreciate this as a firefighter. I hope Local 135 and 10 would appreciate this. I know 2612 would appreciate. I know the fire command would appreciate this. We will not compromise your safety. We will enter into agreements knowing that the citizens we represent and you as a firefighter can walk on scene and know and expect there's going to be enough resources there. In aid agreements now, we send 1 engine, 3 firefighters with the expectation that there will be command set up and enough firefighters there will satisfy these agreements. What we're learning, and what you know, is that that's not happening many times. We have had firefighters injured, we have had equipment damaged, and there comes a time when we have to have adult conversations of how we scale fire services to better protect citizens and firefighters. And that's what's happening. But the end goal is we absolutely want aid. We need aid. We just have to make sure we're restructuring these agreements to where everyone can be safe in these conversations. Just want to make sure we're clear. We are seeking aid. We are offering aid. We just have to get the aid and the numbers in these agreements dialed in so everybody is safer than what they are now.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments from the council?
I got 3 questions for the county. If we decide to go, say the council decides to go with the county, how will that go on how quick will that go on their taxes? The 16.75 mils, how quick will that happen?
So I've had conversations, everybody hear that question, how soon will your taxes go on the fire district tax rolls? So it's my understanding, again, I'm not a lawyer, but I've talked to our attorneys, and you may have talked to yours, but it's my understanding that if the council elects to join the fire district, that the earliest that taxes would be collected from each property owner in the Valley Center city proper would be next December of 27. So over the next year, basically, it would be the process of them legally entering into the fire district. I believe that taxes being collected late next year after July 1 would be the first payments in December. Your tax payments in December would be the first installments to Central County Fire District on your tax bills. As I understand it, it may not be exact, but that's pretty darn close. Sound right?
And my other question is, if we do go to the county, do we get a rep on the fire district board? Are there reps from all the cities that's on there currently, so would we have one? Advisory.
So currently the way the advisory council was structured by the fire board by the county commission is there are representatives from, there's a representative that represents cities of second class, cities of third class, that are in the fire district, and there's some at-large seats. I'd have to go back and look at the actual resolution. That would be something that the fire board could take up, whether they wanted to add another seat or how they wanted to do that. It's in the resolution that they could amend if they chose to do so.
And then we'd all got an email stating that the county was in financial trouble. Is that true?
I'm not sure where the email came from. Sedgwick County, so just to be clear, Sedgwick County Fire District is a independent taxing entity. It is not under Sedgwick County proper, and it does not serve the whole county. The sheriff is under the county, and they receive taxation from every property in the county, and they serve the whole county. Fire District only serves a select geographical area that was established, and those properties that have petitioned them since that time. So they are not countywide, they are only fire district wide. That's the question again, I'm sorry. Oh, financial trouble. Okay, so Sedgwick County is not in financial trouble. County Commission is conservative and responsible with the money. The fire district is not in financial trouble. The fire district is solvent and healthy finance-wise. The fire district pays annual fees to the county for administrative support. So the county's CFO, Chief Financial Officer, county management on behalf of the fire board, legal on behalf of the fire board, all support the fire district. And the fire district's finances are healthy. They're not in trouble in any way, shape, or form. That's about the close second. That's the forecast.
Council, to answer your question, I have the projected 5-year outlook that the CFO of the county provided for us. And anyway, the note that she has provided is the attached fire forecast for the next 5 years includes not increasing the mill levy rate. It includes our total apparatus replacement plan. It includes all of our admin charges. It includes the pay pool increase of 8.125 to 27 and 6% to 28. And it also includes the $5 million training center that we're hoping to get started on next year. And at the end of 2032, we have $8 million in our reserve fund. So I don't think we're going to be in trouble.
Any other questions?
Chief Williams, I don't know if it was you that had the interaction, but you mentioned something about 6,000 calls that you ate into Wichita. Those calls where you're going into Wichita, then you're going to have to pull from the station that would be in Valley Center to cover other stations. What does that do to our community, leaving us uncovered when you're pulling into Wichita as part of your mutual aid? No, it'd be mutual aid is what you were referring to, but would that not pull in from this community's fire station to have to go cover other areas because other areas closer to Wichita would be pulled into Wichita?
If we had a fire station in Valley Center and there was a building fire in the north end of Wichita, let's say the 69th and Meridian area or somewhere down in there on Meridian, if our station was in Valley, it could pull that unit out of there. But as soon as it went into Wichita, a unit from Park City would move over into Valley to cover that Valley station. It's kind of like I touched on before. We move units from station to station to cover those holes.
You wouldn't be completely in Valley, or you would move it somewhere in between.
No, we have 2 units in Park City. We wouldn't begin the Valley station.
How many employees, how many firefighters are staffing those stations that are currently around us?
There's 6 valleys in Park City.
There's six per shift in Park City. And what about May shift?
May is 5.
5, okay.
one of the biggest problems I had with this, the whole canceling of the agreements was we were sent a blanket statement that had all of the communities on it. We were lumped into one, and not any one of these communities has the same situation with their fire department. But yet we were all put on one memo line that we had 90 days and these things were being canceled. And that's one of my biggest problems is you said that, oh, we sent a letter and somebody was talked to, but we were never communicated with as a council and said Valley Center is going to have their mutual aid and auto aid canceled. I don't care to be included with Clearwater, Mount Hope. That's not us. That's not who I'm serving. I'm serving our citizens. And for Sedgwick County 1 to send that out shows lack of care to me for each one of those communities because they are individual communities. And not any of those have the same fire situations as the other ones do. And honestly, I don't think any other ones are as prepared as we are. They have smaller departments. They rely more on part-time employees. What you're forcing us to do, one way or the other, taxes are going up because you canceled our agreements, and it didn't have to happen. Number two is we're going to do what we wanted to do in 10 years. We started with 2 full-time employees, firefighters. We're now at 6. You're going to fast track us, force us to do this in a year and a half, which is what we have on scale to do over 10 to 15 years. And to come out and say it's about safety, you're strong-arming us into doing this. And it's not appreciated by a lot of the community members that I've heard from. But we don't have anywhere else, we don't have anywhere to go. And that's the feeling that I have. I just wanted to share that with everyone, so.
Any other comments, questions?
Can you hear me? This is for Chief Newman. They mentioned that Chief Williams mentioned that should we bolster our department to meet the standards, they would look at an auto aid agreement again. In your estimation, how long would it take us to hire, train, all of that to meet those standards?
That's going to be a difficult question to answer. I mean, we would start immediately. As soon as council were to bless that. I mean, you got to tell us there's money there. I mean, some of the first things we have to do is, we would start advertising, I'm sure, but one of the first things is going to be the remodel. And we have to have the facilities to house additional firefighters and to move to that 24/7 or 48/96 schedule. We have to have the facilities to do that, and so it's going to take a little time. I mean, I think I've hired, I've been in this position for quite a long time now, and in hiring, it doesn't ever seem to go as fast as you want, I'll tell you that. So, I would anticipate the rest of this year, we would be working on that process and probably into next year. I think it's going to be an ongoing process. And we've discussed that, at the table. I think their response back to us, because we've said it's going to take us time, their response is they'll continue to work with us, and give us that time, as long as they know we're working towards something.
And I guess the second part is just a comment. None of that has been budgeted for 2026, correct?
Correct.
And then my second question, to follow up on that, Commissioner Beatty or Chief Williams, would be, you mentioned that you would consider going back to the auto agreement should we meet, forget the quote, the standards. Can you be more specific on, we would need to know very specifically what would we need to achieve and by what date or estimated date to know if that's even viable, because I agree with Councilmember Anderson here that we're feeling strong-armed and we don't have clear goals that we have to achieve to get these agreements back in place. And we don't have any timeline right now.
I'll take a shot at that. Through conversations with commissioners, through conversations with the chief, through conversations with the county manager, and then conversations with the other cities. I think it's important to say that the citizens of Valley Center need to understand exactly what they have and whether they're comfortable with that. That was the first thing. We've had this conversation in other cities. As far as the auto aid agreement, again, you have 15 to 20 volunteer or part-timers. The part-time employees are compensated for 20. If you have 3 employees per shift and you can get your part-time employees to respond to alarms and meet that 10 or be darn close to it, in the 9 range with a commander, 8 range with a commander. We've been pretty firm on 10, simply because there has to be some kind of goal to achieve. Again, I don't think that the fire board is trying to force you to do something you don't want to do. It's a matter of community choice, a matter of community standard. If you believe that your fire department is adequate, they make medical response, they make general fire response at a grass fire at the house, or a dumpster fire, or a small detached garage fire, and they turn out and they do a great job. They respond to medical calls, and they get to all of them, which is part of the medical response system in Southern County. All fire departments provide medical first response and first care for patients. If they're doing that great job and you're satisfied with them, the fire district and the fire board are okay with that. But getting to an aid agreement is, can you get, whether you have professional or part-times, can you get 10 of them to turn out in 10, 12, 13 minutes to a structure fire, commercial or residential? Again, if you have an incident on that fire scene where firefighters are trapped, that you have enough backup there. You have professional firefighters in the ring that we all respect what they do. But if they were placed in a situation where they were unsafe in the departments they work for that are unionized, they would not tolerate that. And for them to say that they will tolerate it in their home community because it's inconvenient for them to meet that standard is kind of hypocritical a little bit. So again, we don't want to force anybody into doing anything. We're just challenging communities to meet a basic standard. And Senator pointed out that this fluctuates. It's not perfect. And Chief Williams points out this fluctuates. It's not perfect. But 10 is a goal. Can you get 10 part-time and professional firefighters rolled out in 10 to 12 minutes so that whenever your aid agreement folks come in, whether that's Wichita or Sedgwick County or Newton or whoever it is, you've got enough force on scene that people are safe throughout that fire.
One additional question for you. Can you confirm that we would 100% be ISO 2 versus 4? I mean, the tax or the insurance premium decrease is enticing, but I've also been told that you can't just blatantly say that, yeah, we'll go straight to a 2.
I can tell you this, that we are a class 2 for every one of our cities that has a fire station within it. So can I sit here and tell you that ISO is going to come out tomorrow and say yes? I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that we as a fire department, all of our cities that we have stations in are all blanket rated together, and they are all class 2.
Thank you. One more question, I'll stop. This is for Chief Newman. On the slide presentation, slides 8 and slide 9, we refer to fire services and everything that covers. Within the existing Valley Center Fire Department, can we meet all of those requirements or can we not?
a second to read through real quick. So we're doing the fire response, we're doing the medical calls, rescue and specialty services. Some of that we've done, we have at Jaws, we've done vehicle extrication, confined space rescue, water and ice rescue. We have guys that are certified in surface ice, nothing below the surface. We rely on mutual aid from our partners in Sedgwick County on some of those specialty services such as that. Mutual aid disaster response, I mean, we've done that over the years as well. So yes, severe weather response, yes. I'm not sure if all the citizens know or not. Typically, if we're under a tornado watch and then we get put under a thunderstorm warning, our fire department, our firefighters, they come out in trucks, they spread out, depending on what direction the storm's coming, they spread out in various areas and they're watching, they're spotting for that weather. So yes, we do that. Code enforcement, no, we don't have anyone certified for the code enforcement. Arson investigation, again, actually with arsons typically, or arson investigations, typically we contact State Fire Marshal's office. Public education, yes, I'm sure you see that on Facebook. We are out doing that every year at the schools. We go through Fire Prevention Week. We hit up all of our elementaries. We do open house at the station. Firefighters out at Fall Fest. I mean, we're out and about and actively involved in community events. The recent backpack and food giveaway thing, if you went to that, you would have seen firefighters and officers out at that as well.
Excuse me. If I can add a little bit of context, and Councilmember Anderson, answer a little bit of your question. These are not new conversations. They've been ongoing conversations. Even with the previous city administrator, the concerns were echoed. Please keep in mind that the county commission received a letter in September of 2025. And then that's when we were alerted. We've heard there's issues, we've had conversations there are issues, but when the fire advisory board sent the formal letter, it's when we formally started engaging in more public conversations. But the conversations have been going. The second thing is, again, please understand, I want to emphasize, the last thing I want is a partner to feel as if we're trying to strong arm anything. The basis of this is that we do believe that there's a safety problem. I mean, and that we wouldn't be here if we didn't believe there was a safety problem. We have firefighters, we have a fire chief that are telling us this is a problem, that they've been put in precarious situations and their safety is under concern. I think as elected leaders that we have a responsibility to understand that. We have a responsibility to answer that call, and it is going to require us to scale. Either Sedgwick County is going to have to scale, or Valley Center is going to have to scale. What's not appropriate is when firefighters, our employees, are looking at us saying, we have a problem, we have a safety concern. That's not appropriate to turn our heads. The 90-day termination was by contractual agreement. But by no stretch of the imagination, we think that's what the conversation was going to end. We entered into the conversation, we sent the letter formally saying, let's land on a new agreement. Let's land on a new agreement, let's figure this out so we can elevate the safety concerns. So I just want you to know that these conversations have been ongoing. It's always been with the lead that we anticipate to enter into a new agreement. And we just got to make sure that safety is prioritized in that new agreement. So I just want to make sure everybody understands. We're going to land this plane on a new agreement. You just got to make sure these firefighters and these citizens are safe.
I would like some examples. Both you and Chief have both said that you've had employees come to you with concerns of safety, but I have not had one example that happened in our community versus another community. And that's why I think I'm so worked up over getting put in with 4 other communities is, okay, if there's an example of something that happened in our community because we were short-staffed, I want to know that as a council member. But I've heard it multiple times that there was concerns, somebody short-staffed, somebody got hurt, there was equipment hurt. I understand the safety issue of it. I want to see it, an example of it. I want to see some data of response times, of we didn't have people there in the right amount of time. We've thrown, this stuff's been thrown at us without any examples, and that is a little upsetting.
I understand. I think the mayor has a sheet right there that was provided. We have provided those. Part of this conversation too is it's good partners. We don't want to go out and just start embarrassing fire departments. That's not good partnership. But we have provided, the chief has a list just within the last year of several instances where there were situations that were concerning. So we have provided that. We provided it to the management office, provided it. The mayor and I had a great conversation of these. So those examples do exist. Chief, if you'd like to add on any of that, but we have provided specific concern circumstances. Thank you.
Oh, if there's not any other questions or comments,
Just a quick.
you know it's past bedtime.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Beatty, just to confirm, you said that it is the intention to have the agreements plural?
We will look at, the answer is yes, we will look at any agreements. Enter into a mutual aid agreement, you have that, the expectation. An auto aid agreement, we would have expectations of what that would look like in fire safety and regional response. Enter into a regional. We hope you can do that, frankly.
Just confirming, because they all get looped into one.
Yes, yes.
Is there any other?
One more, something Ben said, I just want to ask this question. If we state Valley Center Fire Department and say we head to out that way to do a fire, if we're our own, have no aid, who's coming to town while we're out that way? When all of our guys are out in the corner of the house fighting fires. Town's in here empty. Would that be the case or not? If we stay with ourselves? To me, you almost have to have two fire engines and more people, like they were talking about backfilling. We're not gonna have anyone backfill if we're out somewhere fighting fire.
So it would be, I don't know if it's still on, we would get another call out or another page out, and we would rely on whether it be off-duty full-time firefighters or our part-time firefighters to come in. Also, currently with the auto aid, then, depending on the type of call, I would hope that Second County or whoever our partner is at the time would do that. They've done that for us before when we've been on calls, whether it's in our own city or outside. We've had, I think, medical calls they've responded to and done. We've done the same for them. When their station was full, we responded on medical calls that we don't typically do in the townships, but we did it because they were on other calls. So I think in part, yes, we would want some of our people to come. There's only certain equipment that we take out into the county as well. So, it would be, usually it's a tender. If it's a structure fire, it's going to be a tender or an engine tender or something. Water is what they need. They don't have fire hydrants out in the rural areas that we have in the city, in most of the city. And so that's what we're taking to them, water and bodies. And typically that's 2, maybe 3 firefighters that we'd be sending out there. And so that we would be doing secondary call outs. And on occasion, we do have calls. We do rely on our part-time firefighters or off-duty full-time firefighters to respond and answer those. Did I answer?
Chief Newman, what hours do we have people staffed at the police or at the fire station, and what hours will they be coming from home currently?
Currently, it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then after 7 p.m., they respond back.
And are they typically longer response times than after 7 p.m.?
They are, and I misspoke earlier. I said earlier they were coming back in their own private vehicles. Our full-time firefighters, when they end a shift at 7 p.m., we do have some other response vehicles. We have the Explorer, we have a couple of pickups that they will take home that are marked emergency vehicles, lights and sirens. They will do that. It's the other off-duty firefighters that respond in personal, but yeah, if they're responding from home, they're quick. I mean, I would say they're still relatively quick. They're probably quicker than I would be now if somebody called me in the middle of the night and asked me to go somewhere. But it's still obviously going to be a slower response than if they were responding from the station where the fire truck's already at, where their bunker gear is already at, all of their equipment.
So it sounds like 24 hours would be needed in the future regardless. I mean, it will make everyone safer.
Are there any more questions or comments from the council? Okay, well, I've just got one comment. I appreciate everybody showing up. It's really good to see. I was not expecting this big a crowd, but I am glad to see it. So I hope we give you enough information. You can contact your council people or myself, or even Ryan. So, have a good night, have a good evening. I need a motion to adjourn this.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.